Hello, and welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Content Live Golf. My name is Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hello, everybody. Steve, did you like the intro music there? It was very churchified almost, wasn't it? Wasn't quite expected now.
Churchified. I don't think I've ever used that word before, but okay, very calming, shall we say? So yes,
it's a new word. It's a new word. Yeah.
Okay. Now this podcast, believe it or not, after what we just started with there, is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about trying to get more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 12. And today we're going to be talking about junior golf in Wales. We've covered junior golf in Ireland. We've covered junior golf in Scotland. And we've done plenty on junior golf in England. So it's only right that we complete the set of home nations, if you like. And we're going to talk about Welsh golf. What do you know about Welsh golf, Ian?
Oh, I know a bit, actually. Steve, I've had the pleasure of filming two tournaments in Wales over my short career in golf, both on the Faldo series. So and you may have noticed the colour is red for the text today, of the bar anyway, in honour of Wales, because we think of Wales, we think of red. So if you are from Wales and watching, there you go. That is just for you. Now, Steve, just before you get into things as well, I must say, don't forget, anybody watching this who wants to find out more about Mr. Jackson here, Steve Jackson, the founder of Progress Junior Golf. That's the website there. But to make it even easier for you, there is a link in the body of this broadcast. At any point, give it a click. It will take you straight through to Steve's website. It is an absolute gold mine. In fact, if you have any involvement in junior golf, you have to visit that website. And throughout the show, if you do have a question, you do want to have a your say, do comment. We can see the comments. We can bring them on the screen as well. So if you have a question, probably for that man, it's that way, isn't it, Steve? Please do comment below. We can see. So there you go. That's my housekeeping done. Steve, back to you.
Well done. Yes. Now, so obviously you know loads about Welsh golf, but we've got some proper experts on to help us out. So just to find out some more, then we've got Theo Baker then from Wales Golf. He's got a big event coming up. It starts tomorrow and Thursday. It's called the Gareth Bale Championship. Gareth Bale, I don't know if you've heard of him. We mentioned him in the last podcast, but just to remind people out there, he plays a bit of football occasionally.
Just won a big trophy, I think, didn't he? Just won a big trophy, I believe.
Yeah, so, a couple of weeks ago, someone thought he was going to sign for Leeds, but I mean,
well, you never know. Why not?
Yeah,
he's done everything else. No, he wants
Champions
a real
League, Champions League winner to Leeds United. But anyway, Bernie's really into his golf as well. So, and he has got behind a big championship which takes place at the Vale Resort, which is one of those events or one of those venues which you have been to before. Fantastic venue, 36 holes there. So we're going to hear all about that, and also the Ping Welsh Junior Tour as well. So Theo's going to be talking about those two competitions there. Those two really are aimed at the slightly more advanced junior golfer, the less experienced young golfers. Certainly not being ignored in Wales, far from it. In fact, over the last 12 years, of course, if you remember 2010, the Ryder Cup, they had a legacy fund there, which was a lot of that went towards junior golf, and in particular, the running of the Welsh Mini Masters, and that was set up by Andrew Jones. So we've got an interview with him as well. So we're going to be talking with Theo and Andrew. Both of those two interviews are pre-recorded, but so we're going to hear from those two about all sorts of aspects, and then we're going to have a bit of a chat as well about some of the other things which are taking place in Wales as well. First things first, though, let's get that junior golf news then. Now, actually, we'll move north of the border to start off with. Been some big competitions up over in Scotland, actually, in recent days. There's some Ruddling Trophy, and the Scottish Men's Open Championship actually took place. That was at Cruden Bay. It was won by Charlie Thornton, the Scottish Men's Open Championship. Actually, Blair Gowrie teenager Cormac Sharp, he led the qualifiers to make it through to that. Did really well at Fraserburgh. But staying in Scotland, though, Junior Tour Scotland, they held an event at Forfar Golf Club. There was a boys' competition and a girls' competition. The boys' competition was won by someone who we know very well, George Cannon. We can throw in all the puns if you like now about he was on fire and shooting, 68, 69, 137. He won by 6 shots from Jack Mann and Hayden Fowler. The girls' competition was won. Now, I'm not sure if there was a playoff, but certainly 2 players who finished level. Freya Russell from Royal Troon and Robin Fowley. Both of those finished on 147. Now, once again in Scotland, the Barry Douglas Scottish Junior Masters. This took place at Strathmore Golf Club. 3 rounds this. Boys competition, once again, joint first place in this one. Andrew Henry from Gullen and Alex McGilvery from Nairn. Andrew shot 73, 75, 68 to finish with. And Alex 75, 69 and 72. Now, the girls competition. Now, this is the interesting one here because I looked at the result from this and I thought this has got to be some kind of a misprint here because this doesn't make sense. Because the first person was Freya Russell, who we might have just heard of a few seconds ago.
Yeah.
And second place was Robin Fowley. Now, I've got to admit, initially I thought, is this the same competition? But no, this is 2 separate competitions, 2 consecutive weeks. So they finished first and then first and second. So that is 2 golfers who are seriously in form.
Remember those names. Remember those
Absolutely,
names.
yeah. Scores there, that was 3 rounds there, 75, 74, 76 for Freya, won by 1 shot from Robin Fowler, who really did put some pressure on there with the 71 in the final round there, really put some pressure on there. So staying with women's golf, girls golf, the Critchley Salver took place at Sunningdale, played over 36 holes. Now, it was actually 3 players finished tied first here. No playoff, which was interesting. I know you love your playoffs. Why do you think they wouldn't have a playoff?
Weather.
Weather, possibly, yes. I mean, to be fair, they played 36 holes in one day. So if you stick a playoff on the end of that, it could go on and on and on, and it could be a very long day for them. But winner there, though, I mean, hats off to this person who won it, though. Second place was Talia Kirby, and defending champion Lottie Woe finished 3rd. So they just missed out and count back to Alice Barlow from Bury St Edmunds. Now, Alice, she's 23 years old, but this is someone who is in seriously good form because just in this last month, she's won the Welsh Women's Open stroke play, the Suffolk Ladies County Championship as well, and she won this tournament by eagling the 36th hole. So that's the way to win a tournament.
I'll tell you something, Steve. We talk about players, don't we? And the cream really does rise to the top, doesn't it? We talk of Lottie Woad. I mean, she's finished 3rd place. And she was disappointed with that, and Lottie is seriously, of course, she was, as you said, defending champion, and she knows Sunningdale very well. Of course, she won the Sunningdale foursomes earlier in the year. So, but it just goes to show the level of field. It's unbelievable in not just England, but the United Kingdom. We just heard it from Scotland. It's insane. And of course, we're going to hear from Wales. It's madness, really. In 10 years' time, we should be dominating global golf.
We would hope so, yeah. Now, staying in England then, and this is the player, we're going to talk about a player here who's in form. I mean, you mentioned Lottie there. Now, this is a guy who's in seriously good form. Zach Little. Now, he played in the Hertfordshire Stag competition, which he's played over 2 courses, actually. It's played at Moor Park. So that's on the Saturday. That's 36 holes on the Saturday. Yeah. He won that by 1 shot. He shot 70 and then 69. Then the following day, another I mean, this is how fit are these guys, by the way. Another 36 holes the following day, this time played at Porters Park. And once again, he's 17 years old. He shot 69, 69. He beat Aaron Kent in a playoff. I think we might have a photo, actually, of Zach as well. Because he actually won. He's got 2 photos there. So he won the Hertfordshire Stag at Moor Park on the first day. Then it was the King George versus the Coronation Challenge Cup the following day, and then it was combined to win the Hertfordshire Bowl. So he carried away 3 trophies there. Now, the only criticism I've got with Zach here, and I've got to be a bit cruel to him here. The only criticism I've got is, now put the photo back up, because this is the criticism.
Sorry, there you go.
Yeah, it's the fact that he won all these competitions. Now, rule number 1 is when you have your photo taken, look at the camera. So the photo on the left there, he's looking away to the right-hand side of the camera. I mean, the guy is blending. The trophy's looking directly at the camera, so he's got it right. But and then on the right-hand side, he's looking to the left of the camera. So, I mean...
Is somebody stood behind you, Steve? If somebody stood behind you doing something?
Absolutely. It must be, yeah. So either that or someone else is taking the photo. But these are the photos that... Anyway, there you go. But, I mean, hats off to him. Credit to him. Great scoring and really, if he's going to win all these competitions, then learn how to look at the camera when you get the photo taken. But anyway,
there you go. A lot more opportunities, isn't he? Really
yes. Now, although this is obviously a podcast really about British golf and Irish golf, we have to mention the English Men's Open Stroke Play Championship, also known as the Bradenson Trophy. We previewed it in the last podcast. That took place at Saunton Golf Club. It was won by a teenager, though, Christian Mass, who's South African, shot 65, 70, 67, 68, won by 5 shots. So some seriously good scoring there. One from... second place was Aaron Edwards Hill from Chelmsford Golf Club.
Yeah,
defending champion.
Very well, yeah.
Yep, defending champion Sam Bairstow did really well as well. You know, we talk about Lottie doing well as a defending champion at Sunningdale. He finished fourth, scores of 71, 65, 69, and then finished with a 73. So just dropped off a little bit there towards the end. Tyler Weaver, by the way, the reason why I'm going to mention him is he finished in 17th place, but he also won the Lagonda Trophy at the Gog McGog. So he plays out of Bury St Edmunds. He shot level pole, won by 4 shots. 71, 71, 69, 69. Isn't it great how these amateur events, both the junior and the amateur events, they play over proper. You know, they play 3-4 rounds. So you find out who the best golfer is. It's not like one round, you know, and a little bit of match play. They play some proper golf in this, don't they? So another player who we're well aware of as well, George Ash, he won the Punch Bowl at Trentham Golf Club by 4 shots. And finally, last one, this is someone who was mentioned actually in the last podcast. There are so many players out there who are in seriously good form, aren't there? Here's another one, Matty Dobbury. He won the Frank Stableford Scratch Open at Wallasey. It was the latest Northern Order of Merit event of the year. He shot a new course record, 66 in the first round, and then 68 in the second round. And this is the big up for him because he did all this in the middle of his A-levels. He'd been doing exams on the Thursday and the Friday, and then went and did that, and then he did this on the following day.
I tell you, that is seriously impressive. Don't underestimate that. You know, I mean, it's a long time since I did my A-levels, but Steve, even longer for you. But
thank you. Yes,
but it's not easy, was it? I mean, they take all of you at a time, and then to go off and win a tournament is well unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's not just him as well. I mean, that's a lot of kids out there who are taking exams, GCSEs, A-level exams at the moment, and they're trying to play in competitions as well at the same time. So
across all sport as well, we must say too, not just golf. It must take a huge effort. So anybody doing that, congratulations, really.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, then make the most of the time that you have on the golf course. You know, we did a podcast last week about fitness and it's good. It's good for you to go out there, get a bit of fresh air. You know, the weather's getting a little bit, well, I was going to say it's milder, but it's started raining today, unfortunately.
Chucked it down today, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that wraps up the golf news then, the junior golf news then. So let's get on with the podcast today. So we're going to be talking about junior golf in Wales. As we mentioned, this is a country which size-wise is, you know, it's the smallest of the home nations, with the exception of Northern Ireland in terms of golf clubs. It's actually smaller than Yorkshire. There are more golf courses in Yorkshire than there are in Wales. And if you look at it from a professional level as well, they've probably not got quite so many very, very top players as some of the other home nations.
How many Welsh players can you name who have played Ryder Cup, Solheim Cup?
Well, there's obviously Ian Woosnam and Jamie Donaldson in recent years with the men's Solheim Cup, Becky Brewerton.
Amy Bolden's never played Solheim, has she?
No. We're trying to get Amy. We're trying to get Amy onto this podcast. We're going to be talking to Amy actually next week. Hopefully, we're going to be doing a podcast about girls golf, so we're going to be talking to her about that. So that's going to be great to have a chat with her. But yeah, so Welsh golf is it's not as high profile as some of the other home nations, but they are doing a fantastic job in promoting junior golf. So let's hear a little bit more about it. Then I spoke earlier this week to Theo Baker from Wales Golf. He's got a big event coming up tomorrow, the Gareth Bale Championship. He also gets involved with the Ping Welsh Junior Tour as well. So let's hear from Theo what the state of Welsh golf is like, junior golf over in Wales.
Fantastic.
Golf in Wales, like all other categories of golfers in Wales over the last 3 years. So even pre-pandemic in Wales, we saw our membership categories increasing. So the number of boys in membership at golf clubs has increased. The number of girls in membership has increased. We're looking at around 3,200 boys and around 600 girls. We also anticipate, whilst we don't have exact data there, that a similar number are in regular coaching or are beginners. So it's growing. Like always, Steve, we'd love more.
So what have you done then to promote junior golf then? You mentioned the last 3 years. Was it dipping a little bit before then? You've had to do something in particular?
Yeah, I think participation across golf across all the home nations was sort of fairly constant, fairly static in terms of its growth. And say in 2019 we saw an increase, but as an organisation, we've run a program called New to Golf for at least 10 years now, And New to Golf is our beginner program, a national beginner program supported by the RNA that we roll out every year. We have around 70 clubs out of the 142 in Wales running beginner programs with around 2,000 beginners every year getting into golf clubs. So not just juniors, but men and women as well. Within that New to Golf program, Steve, we run a really specific program with girls only. All our research has shown that girls in particular like to maybe learn and start golf with their peers. So we run a bespoke girls program, but also we support golf clubs in ensuring that it's not just that there's regular coaching available, but there's the right environment for them to thrive.
Would it be fair comment to say that this really all started, if you like, or certainly the impetus started with the Ryder Cup at Celtic Manor?
Before my time, I was actually a spectator at the Ryder Cup as a junior golfer back in 2010. But part of the successful bid for the Ryder Cup was to create the development arm of Wales Golf. So prior to the Ryder Cup being announced to come to Wales, the Golf Union of Wales, as it was at the time, were, as they are now, responsible for handicapping, championships and high performance. There was no development arm. So absolutely, the impact of the Ryder Cup is that we've got a fantastic development team now that work with all 142 clubs in Wales, not just on junior golf and beginner coaching, but also on business support and guidance to golf clubs.
Just give us an idea of the golf clubs that you have in Wales, because there are some quality venues there. I mean, we mentioned Celtic Manor there, but you got the likes of Royal Port Call, P&K down the south of the county, but also up on the west coast as well, and of course in North Wales as well. So give us an idea about the kind of golf courses which juniors can play.
So we've got golf courses in terms of, if I give you an idea of size, golf clubs that I work with that I'll have 30 members and they're 9 holes. And we'll have other golf courses that have over 1,000 members. We've got sort of resort courses, tournament courses, links courses, mountainous courses, you name it, we've got it. We've got, golf courses that are absolutely hubs of the community where, hundreds of people go there to have Sunday lunch every week, and it's used as a social venue. And we've got other venues, like you mentioned, the Celtic Manor or Porthcawl, which host international events. So there's something for everyone in Wales. Obviously,
you mentioned golf clubs are very different sizes there. I mean, how do you as the golf association deal with the particular clubs and how they try and get more juniors into the game?
Part of our work within Wales Golf is that we work in partnership with the Golf Foundation. Golf Foundation do a huge amount of work across the other home nations and likewise in Wales. So we work with the golf clubs to ensure they have a presence in the local community, so that they're delivering in local primary and secondary schools to help generate more people playing the game. We work with local authorities that the schools are in to make sure that golf is accessible anywhere. So whether it's in a sports hall or a school festival, we'll make sure that golf is an option. And what we do is we work with the golf clubs to ensure that the golf club, the golf course, I think the course is really important here, that they don't join the golf club and get stuck off the white tees and all the best. We work with them to ensure that there's a shortened course where they can obtain a World Handicap Index now and play competitively relative to their ability.
You have a situation in Wales whereby golf is not necessarily the main sport. I mean, rugby probably is the biggest sport in Wales. So is that, in some ways, is that a help? Is that a benefit in the fact that you're not bogged down, if you like, by some of the traditions of the sport? You can almost start anew, if you like.
I think we're still top sort of 5 participation sports in Wales, similar to the other nations, so it doesn't change too much. Rugby, football occupy the top 2 spots, and certainly in Wales with our recent footballing successes, who can blame them? But what we do have is an opportunity to target everyone. Being in Wales, we obviously have a smaller population than the other home nations, but the benefit of that is, Steve, is we get to know everyone. So we've got fantastic one-to-one relationships within our communities, with our clubs, and people know that the golf clubs are there.
There's a very famous footballer called Gareth Bale, who people are probably aware of as well, who quite enjoys his golf as well. Now, just talk about what's happening tomorrow, because there's a big tournament which he is hosting, which is hopefully is going to be massive for junior golf in Wales.
It's massive for sport in Wales. It's part of the Gareth Bale Festival of Sport, which is him and his management company, ICM Stella, a 3-year commitment to growing sport in Wales, an initial 3-year commitment. And the message behind it really is that he doesn't believe in sort of early specialisation in sport. He Gareth Bale grew up playing a wide range of sports, and we're collaborating with table tennis, rugby, football, volleyball, basketball to bring a festival of sport to the Vale Resort starting tomorrow. From the golfing side, we've got a 54-hole World Amateur Golf Ranking event for golfers aged 16 and under, specifically for Welsh players. So boys and girls will compete against each other on an even playing field. Well, certainly tomorrow to become the initial winner of the Gareth Bale Festival of Sport golf event.
Yeah, that's Theo Baker there from Wales Golf talking about the Gareth Bale Championship, which starts tomorrow. I mean, that's a fantastic event, isn't it? For not just for Wales, but for a UK golf.
Do you know what? What a great resort as well to do it, and I often think with this, we have so many golf ambassadors who are ex-pros at golf. Fantastic. Obviously we know, Sir Nick Faldo to name one. But then to have that cross sport, because golf is so popular, isn't it, amongst other sports? You see how many sports stars, an expert or a pro at one sport, that play golf as well. It's probably, I really honestly say, golf is probably the most popular second sport for people, for professional sports people. Because you see every NFL player, they all play golf, don't they? They all play golf. Cricketers all play golf. Footballers all play golf. But when you have Gareth Bale, who is an A-list player, isn't he? Who's Welsh? I mean, he is literally the icon for Welsh sport. And for him to get behind it is massive. As Theo, just echoing what he said, really.
Yeah, and not only that as well, but it's not just a one-off as well. This is an ongoing thing whereby, and if Gareth Bale does finish his football career in the next year or so, or whenever it might be.
At Leeds,
at Leeds, yes. Then hopefully this is something which he can promote more and more and more, and it can only be good for Welsh golf, for junior golf, for all golf throughout the country. Now let's hear a little bit more from Theo then from Welsh golf, because that's a big event which is taking place, but he's doing a lot more for other things as well. So let's just hear the rest of the interview with Theo. So obviously that's an event whereby that's looking at some of the better players to take part in this type of competition. Overall, then, what kind of competitions do juniors have in Wales to take part in?
So we're very fortunate that we've got some long-standing events. So a friend of the podcast, Andrew Jones, supports the Wales Mini Masters, which is an initial competition for 28 handicappers and above, and he's no doubt going to explain a lot more than I will on that. But I was lucky enough to play in that myself many, many years ago. That's usually a golfer's first introduction to competitive golf away from their golf club. We also, part of the Golf Foundation work that we do, we operate 7 Golf Sixes leagues. So golf clubs across Wales, they work sort of regionally with their leagues where they play friendlies or fixtures against each other, against the golf course in a shortened format. And Steve, I'll be honest with you, it's some of the most rewarding and amazing golf that I've ever seen. You've got little 5-6-year-olds playing a pairs Texas Scramble, navigating their way around a beautiful parkland course in Wales, trying to avoid trees and humps and bumps. It's a fantastic introduction to the sport. We've also are very fortunate to have the Ping Welsh Junior Tour. I'm talking more like the entry level to competition, but Ping have been our initial sponsor with this, and have been loyal supporters of that event, where we have 5 events across Wales, spread fairly evenly, north, mid, south, southwest, and a grand final where golfers from the age of under 8s, 10s, 12s and 14s compete against each other in a shortened golf course relative to their ability. And it gives them that experience of probably the next step up from the Mini Masters.
In the background there behind you, you've got one of your boards with some of your slogans on there. Just as an idea, one of the words at the top there is values. Just give us an idea about the values which you try to pass across to youngsters who are either starting out in the game or are trying to develop in the game.
Our values in Wales Golf, to give you a bit more context, we're a small team, 15 members of staff, looking after 142 clubs and 54,000 golfers. We pride ourselves on being real. That, when we engage with golf clubs and golfers, we're real people. We give our best every time that we deal with them, and we give them our honest answer and honest opinion on matters. We're an innovative group. We try and use technology to the best of our abilities. Certainly the introduction of WHS has accelerated that, and making sure that golf in Wales is at the forefront of innovation and using the tech to support us. We're also very person-centered. That, like I said, we deal with people. Yes, we work with golf clubs, but we work with people. A lot of our workforce in Wales are volunteers, so we tailor our support to them. Often the development team are meeting with individuals late at night, early at morning, to make sure that we can support their needs. And what we pass on to young golfers, Steve, is that golf is a game for everyone anywhere, and the values and the skills for life that golf develops. I've certainly benefited from this wonderful game. We try and pass those on to those golfers as well.
You mentioned their backers as far as sponsors and things like that is concerned. What about role models as well from a player's point of view? Obviously, in my generation, Ian Woosnam was the big Welsh name. You've had Jamie Donaldson since then. You've obviously had some very good Welsh female golfers as well, like a Becky Brewerton, Amy Boland as well. So just give us an idea about the kind of backing which you get from some of the top players in Wales.
They've been fantastic supporters of certainly our high performance programs in recent weeks and months. A lot of the ladies European Tour professionals actually played the challenge match at Royal Porthcawl against our female high performance squad ahead of this summer's ladies European Team Championships, which we are hosting at Conway Golf Club in Wales. So we're bringing an international event to Wales this year again. So they're very gracious, very generous with their time, always there to sort of support, answer questions, and also in today's world, supportive on social media. If they see players doing well, they're always there complimenting and encouraging them to push on and keep going.
What's the long-term goal then for Wales golf? Well, obviously on the back of the Ryder Cup, it was initially, I suppose, to try and get more people into the game. Is there a target to try and get some real world-class players out there, or is it more a case of trying to build that base at the bottom? That's the priority.
It's both. So we're currently coming towards the end of our current strategic plan, but our plan remains to get as many golfers as we can, picking up a club in becoming golfers in Wales. But also nurturing talent and making sure that we provide the right environment and culture for those to grow and develop their skills and perform on a world stage. We know how difficult the game is and how competitive it is, and we feel that we've got a fantastic team, certainly in high performance, that develops players and will continue to do so.
For those who are watching, if there's a junior golfer watching here, if there's a golf club who might be after some advice and some help, what would your advice be to them about how they could go about doing that?
Well, naturally they can get in touch with us as Wales Golf, and we'll signpost you in the right direction to clubs that may have sort of larger junior programs. I appreciate, depending on location, you may not know where to look. But also go to your local golf club. We've got some fantastic people at golf clubs in Wales. Very warm, very welcoming environments, some fantastic coaches and volunteers. Head towards your local golf club and you'll be met with a warm welcome. We work really closely with the golf clubs in Wales. We've got a fantastic team across all departments that support our clubs, and we truly believe that golf is a game for anyone everywhere, and we feel really empowered to give every young person in Wales the chance to pick up a golf club. Website is walesgolf.org. Follow us all on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're often promoting beginner opportunities at golf clubs across Wales. And yeah, obviously keep your eyes peeled for the Gareth Bale event starting tomorrow. So
as far as the event is concerned, obviously tomorrow and the following day, I think it's 36 holes the first day and then 18 holes the following day. People want to come along and watch it. How can they come along?
It's free entry. Sort of spectators are welcome. Please come across to the Vale Resort. It's probably 15 minutes from Cardiff. We'll be on a fantastic 36-hole golf complex, and you'll see some wonderful young golfers teeing it up at the Vale.
And will Gareth Bale be there?
I believe so. I believe so.
You hope so. Okay, we'll keep it as a secret, or is that?
I believe he'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to be a little bit coy about that. He wasn't really going to let on whether Gareth Bale was going to be there or not.
That's a yes. That's he's going to be there, isn't he?
I think he is. Yes. So I wonder.
He is. He's definitely going to be there because Wales are playing this weekend, aren't they?
This is a good point. Absolutely, they are. Of course, they're playing the playoffs.
So hence the reason why I think this week was selected, Steve. Detective Ian here. So if you're in Cardiff or you're in Wales or you just want to go see Gareth Bale, head to the Vale Resort over the next couple of days.
And as Theo mentioned there as well, not only that as well, but see some fantastic junior golfers there as well. So that's some top quality players are going to be playing in that event. Now, obviously, Welsh junior golf is not just about the better players there. Theo mentioned there it's a joint effort to look at the ones at the top and also trying to sort out that base as well. And that starts with the very young golfers. So now I had a chat with Andrew Jones there. Theo mentioned him earlier because he was one of the people who initiated the Welsh Mini Masters 12 years ago now. This was immediately on the back of the Ryder
We've got a picture to show, Steve, if that's all right. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is, you see. And it's well worth going along and trying to play in these competitions. It's aimed at the very younger players. But hey, don't let me explain more about it. Let's hear from Andrew himself because he knows all about it. He can explain exactly what's going on and what they are trying to do to promote junior golf in Wales. So let's just hear from Andrew.
Set up on the back of the Ryder Cup. I'd already been doing some work with Wales Golf, and when the Ryder Cup came to the Celtic Manor, there was a legacy fund, and that legacy fund set up 37 different facilities all across Wales. But the view of myself and a couple of people within Wales Golf at the time always thought that the real legacy of the Ryder Cup in Wales was not actual hardware, but as much as the kids that would come along and play the game and make it a game for life.
The Ryder Cup is a 3-day event kind of thing. So as much as it was fantastic for those 3, well, it was actually 4 days, obviously with the weather as it turned out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously because it was just a 3 or 4 day event kind of thing, it's great for that week and obviously the proceeding and obviously the victory afterwards. But the important thing was then to get a legacy out of that, like you mentioned there.
I'm going to be biased and I'm saying we're very lucky in Wales. The way that Wales Golf was structured at the time, the way that Wales Golf is structured at the moment. And if you compare it as a nation, it's still smaller than some of the counties in England. Counties such as Yorkshire and Surrey are actually bigger. There's more golf clubs in those counties than there are in the whole of Wales. So we were fortunate. We were presented with a unique set of circumstances, and we were able to take that forward at that time. And now 12 years on, we're still running forward with it.
Exactly what did you do? What did you set up and the reasons behind what you set up?
Going back to 2010 is that I was working in the charity sector. So I had a little bit of freedom to be a little bit creative. But fundamentally, at the time, the only event that was going on for juniors was the Wee Wonders, which is a great event, has a great final in Scotland. But that was it. So for young golfers in Wales, they had their chance of the Wee Wonders, and if they didn't make it, they had to wait another 12 months. And whereas most counties and Wales Golf, it's part of their remit, is to look at the acceleration and the development of the elite end. The elite end of any sport, especially in the UK and particularly in Wales, represents only a very small part of those playing the game. So we just wanted to have an event where young players who've been learning skills, especially at the facilities paid for by the Ryder Cup Legacy Fund, could come along, put those skills to a test, and have an opportunity to get to the final, which was at the time held at the Celtic Manor.
What age group were you aiming at? You're aiming at younger than 12, is that correct?
In some respects, we were ahead of the curve from the very beginning, because we always have had the same number of boys and girls playing in the go into our final, because we have 4 categories, and those have been age 7s and unders. Initially, we had 8s to 11s, but very quickly we found that the development of young golfers between the age of 7 and 11 was so big. So then we had the 8s and 9s, then we go 10s and 11s, and then we go 12 and above. And we take them all the way up to the age of 18, which is quite unusual. But one of our very first winners was a disabled golfer, because at the time, at that time, there was even less than there is now for disabled golfers to get involved. So whether that be somebody with a physical handicap, but especially golfers, young golfers who have maybe a learning disability, ADHD, something like that, they find it very difficult to concentrate for longer than a couple of hours, especially playing on an 18-hole golf course with full length. So this was, and things have never changed. We still take youngsters up to the age of 18. We don't get many, but they're very, very welcome. And we have seen them use it as a stepping stone to progress.
You use the word stepping stone there, and that's the key factor here, isn't it? It's a case of trying to bridge that gap between people who may have barely lived at a club before in their lives, to try and get them to become members of a golf club. Is that correct?
That's very much what we're after. The elite will always do well. There's plenty for them. What we're trying to do is that group lessons are now very popular. Golf's a hard game. Youngsters, they go to group lessons, maybe mum, dad, granddad, grandmum as a member of a club. But it's a tough game, and they've got lots of skills that they need to learn.
So that's Andrew Jones talking about what's going on in Welsh golf. Actually, he mentioned there about disabled golfers. We ought to mention that we've got a podcast coming up about disabled juniors or disabled people in junior golf kind of thing. So that's an interesting one, which we're going to be covering in the next few weeks or so. But before I have a chat with you, Ian, let's have just another part of the interview with Andrew then, because he talked a little bit more about what he was doing there at Welsh Golf.
So what we wanted to do was to put in a less pressurized environment so that they could come. And I'll explain shortly how we did that and how we differ from other events, so that it becomes something that we see as fun, because we measure our success not by people who will go on and play for Wales, or even now we've got our first professional golfer who's come through the Mini Masters, and that's all great. But what we really were looking for was to make it a game for life. Some of the differences from our event, because everybody has their reasons for setting up the rules the way they do. But personally, and I spoke to Wales Golf at length about it, is I've never been a flag of the flag system, where youngsters play and then they take so many allocated shots and then they plant a flag. Now, just in our view, is that we don't think that it's right that you should be pulling a youngster off a golf course just because, well, you've taken your allocated number of shots. So what we do is that we cap the number of shots on each hole to a 10. And if you take 10, that's what's going on the card. The other big difference with us is that we actively encourage and insist on every player must have a caddy, and that caddy is mum or dad. So for much of the feedback that we'd had and I'd seen, because I'd run an event for the British Heart Foundation, which was their Junior Golf Championship, is that a lot of parents would drop their young golfer at the club. They would then participate, and then they pick them up at the end. We insist that mum or dad becomes their caddy. And that makes it much more of a family event that, of course, we're no different to anybody else, is that you get the odd over-enthusiastic parent. But generally, and I would say 99.9% of the cases, is that all the parents that get involved want their child to have the maximum opportunity. So that means if they're playing in a group of 3 or 4, that they need to give the other children in that group that opportunity as well. And so it does become a very nice day out where parents get to find out what they've been doing at their local golf club. And so we just need to give people that opportunity to fall in love with the game, and so that then they'll stick at it.
You also incorporate rules as well, which help the golfer. You mentioned there that the 10-shot rule as well, but also rules about if they end up in a bunker and they can't get out, those types of rules as well, which make it easier, because golf, as you mentioned there, can be a tough game.
It's a really hard game. So one of the first rules that we introduced is air shots don't count. You know, you've got to hit it. You've got to hit it, and it takes away. Because some people, especially when they're learning the game, they may take a practice swing, and and have they touched it, or was that a practice swing, or did he really? So we just took everything like that away and just said, count the number of times you hit it. And you're right, you can have 2 goes in a bunker, and then you get a drop outside under a penalty of 1. So it's very much bringing it back down to pairing it, and those that do well, those that are keen, will progress. But I can only repeat that what we're really after is to keep those youngsters part of the game of golf, because there's plenty out there to tempt them that maybe isn't so hard initially for them to play.
What's your take on how you use the golf course? Because golf courses can be long, and in particular for some of those youngsters there. So do you put them out on forward tees? Do you make them par 6s? Do you what? Because there are certain different golf tours who do different things, aren't there?
Absolutely. Oh, we have our own tees. We have our own tees, and what we do is that I'm very lucky I've got some great support in terms of volunteers that come along with me. And have done since the very beginning. And we set the course up on the day. So we take into account the weather, the wind, whether it's raining. And we advertise holes between 40 and about 180 yards.
Now, I've got to admit, I like the idea of no air shots. That's the kind of.
Steve, you stole my thunder there. You stole him a joke there. I was going to say, I've got to play on Andrew's tour, because I could do all right there. And getting out of bunker, if you can't get out of bunker.
Yeah, just chuck it out. I'll say it now.
Although I did play a cracking bunker shot. I played at Weldon the other day. Played an amazing bunker shot, got to say.
Yeah, well, that was your 3rd attempt, though. But no, in all seriousness, the whole point of obviously these rules that he's bringing is to try and bring the fun element out, and that's got to be applauded, doesn't it?
100%. It's just got to get people playing the game, and it's almost, we don't need to make it complicated, to get people into the game. Football, you can just put two jumpers down, and you need a ball and a field, and that's it. Golf, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it easy. Let's make it accessible, and that's what Andrew's doing.
And also, he just we'll go on to another clip of the interview here now, because he talks about the flexibility of the way that they set up the golf course, which I think this is fascinating what he's about to say here about what they do when they're looking at the venues.
Yeah, sure. Shall we listen?
Yeah.
Now, if you're a 11, 12-year-old, they may complain at times, "Oh, that's a little bit short. Can't I hit my driver?" Well, that's the target. That's where it is. Just hit it close. So yeah, but, sometimes if you've got a big downhill, then we'll go up to about 210 yards. That even if somebody who's 6 years of age, and the youngest we've had playing is 4. So even if we get somebody like that, they can just top one off the tee, and they could still advance it about 100 yards. But so that they're all in the game. Now, one thing, we have an arrangement, an ongoing arrangement with Volvic through Brand Fusion in the UK, because everybody who enters, they'll get a commemorative ball marker, but they also get a golf ball as well. They get a Volvic golf ball. Volvic were the ones that brought out first the coloured golf ball. I don't think many people could have seen at that time that there would be a coloured Pro V1. So, there is, but our arrangement is that everybody gets a coloured golf ball. The kids love them. And we have what's called the Volvic Challenge, which is regardless of age, we have it nearest the pin. And that nearest the pin winner goes to the final. So even if you have had the very worst day you could possibly have on the golf course, you've got near the end a one shot. And I was delighted a couple of years ago where somebody came in and they had the worst score of all the age groups throughout the whole of the event, some 50 odd kids, and he had the worst score, but he stuck his tee shot on that hole to 6 inches, and he went to the final, and that's great.
I bet you as well. He had the biggest smile on his face out of all the players who were at that event as well.
Absolutely, because they all, it is. When we get to the final, obviously, from any event, the cream will always rise to the top. And if somebody has a fluke or a good day or things like that, then to do it twice is more difficult. But there are some, there are great events, and within Wales, there's the Ping Junior Tour. But the Ping Junior Tour, because that is the brief of Wales golf, is to look towards the home internationals, the Welsh teams, and things like that. It encourages people to play in all of its events. So it tends to be the better players will go around and travel around Wales.
Been going for 12 years. Can you see the progress that you've been making during that period of time?
Yeah, golf has gone through cycles. Is that you'll get an increase in a cohort of youngsters will take it up, and then you'll see a boom. Obviously, during COVID lockdown, we've now seen a lull where people have gone away from the game because there weren't group lessons during that time, and people obviously courses were closed. So I have seen a marked change in that time within the attitudes of clubs, because yes, golf has had an issue with its image, that it's a stuffy, middle-age, old-age, white, male-dominated game. But clubs, and especially in Wales, and I'll take my hat off to Wales Golf here, because they've done so much work within the Principality, where clubs are now getting it that to survive they need a broad membership, and they realise now that if youngsters come to the game, and they stay, that parents are sitting in the clubhouse while they're having their group lesson, all having teas, coffees, eating sandwiches. And some of them are saying, I want to play the game. I want to play the game too. That doesn't mean we're where we could be, but I've certainly seen progress.
How important is it to have role models as well? Because, from an outsider, from someone who lives in England, Welsh, the national sport is rugby. You've had Ian Woosnam, but Ian Woosnam is now obviously, a senior golfer now. You've had Jamie Donaldson as well. So you have had golfers come through the male side as well, and some with the female side as well. So how important is it to have those role models for the kids to follow?
The bulk of our entry comes from an age group of the age of between 9 and 11. That's the bulk of it. They've never heard of Ian Woosnam. They don't know who Jamie Donaldson is. They know who Gareth Bale is. They know who Daniel James is. They'll know who Dan Biggar and Alan Wynne-Jones are.
Yeah, they know all the major sports.
Got to stop you there. I see a Leeds United player got a mention there.
Absolutely, yes. Well, yes. I forced it out of him, but no. He's obviously mentioned there some of the big names in the other sports in Wales there, but the key now is to try and obviously bypass that, because they don't really need to. And I think that's the point he's making there, is that these kids, they're not their role models yet, because at that age they just want to fall in love with the sport, and that's what they're trying to do. And I think it's refreshing the flexibility which he has towards these tournaments as well. With the
but it needs to be called as well, doesn't it? It's Steve,
yeah,
at that age. It seems almost a shame for people of our age. No disrespect, we're same age, but to be saying kids what's cool, what's not. But Gareth Bale is cool. Golf, and because he's into golf, therefore golf is cool. Do you know what I mean? And that matters at that age. I have a 6-year-old and he plays football, and it's the cool thing to do. So they all play football, and I think this is important, and this is why Gareth Bale's actually importance to golf, certainly in Wales, is absolutely cannot be underestimated.
Let's just hear the final interview, the final part of the interview with Andrew here, because I think this is probably the most important bit, because this is the bit whereby even I, when I spoke to him about this, even I got inspired by some of the things he was saying. So let's just hear this.
But it doesn't really impact on them, because it's so far away from, and with golf not having it has the exposure obviously on Sky, but it doesn't have the blanket exposure that rugby, football will have. So of course, Ian Woosnam has been a great supporter in Wales of junior golf. He's been he has been. Jimmy Donaldson the same. And we've got Amy Bolden. Her sister Kim is part of the Wales golf team. So it is important, but for a number of years, I worked with Bradley Dredge, who did fantastic for our British Heart Foundation event, but the level of profile that he had amongst those kids, not that high. A big year last year for the Wales Mini Masters is that we had our first player who came to the event turn professional. Leanne Brownwell from North Wales. She's currently learning the professional side on the clutch tour, and she actually came to the Mini Masters with her sister, and she wasn't going to play because she was into horse riding at the time, but a little bit of persuasion at the time, and she played. She won her section. Now she thought, well, I'm in the final, I better practice. Practiced, got better, won it, and that was the catalyst for her taking up the game. And we're very grateful, because Leanne, even though now she's a professional golfer, she still comes to as many of our events as we can and talks to the youngsters and tells her story. So we're keeping a close eye on Leanne's progress this year, and hopefully that soon that she'll be able to make the Ladies European Tour.
Just finally then, someone who wants to get involved in the event, there's a child or there's a parent or whatever of a child who may be watching this and thinking, yeah, my son or daughter, I'd like to get involved. Give them some advice. How could they do that?
WalesMiniMasters.co.uk. All the details are on there. And even though we're an event in Wales, we have had a considerable number of entries from across the border in England. Is that I can only say how lucky we are in Wales, in the respect that Wales Golf are very progressive. Delighted to see that both their development arm and the chief exec are now ladies, which is about time. But I would have to say I always had an ambition that the Wales Mini Masters would be mirrored by an England Mini Masters, and that the winners from England would play a team from Wales, and we'd have internationals. That was a dream at the start. Perhaps time has passed me by on that one, but it is I do find that in England is that the counties are like silos. And that's why perhaps there's not an English mini masters as such, where junior golf events that are cross-county tend to be run by private organisations, not within a structure organised by English golf. Once they get to the elite level, of course, there's plenty of cross-border. But what we're always looking at is the mass number. How many, and it's not been for without trying that I've tried to establish something in England, and got quite far in some instances, but never got it across the line, which is a shame.
Now, the reason why I say this is inspirational here, Ian, is the fact that on the back of what he was saying there, and he's absolutely spot on what he was saying about counties England, whereby the organisations in this country which have been successful of getting events off the ground and getting players playing it are the likes of the Robert Rock Junior Golf Tour, the Northern Junior Golf Tour, who's been on this podcast before, the Shires Junior Golf Tour in my area, are independent organisations whereby they do it themselves, they get off their own backside and they go and do it, whereas the counties don't. Now, the inspiration part, this has happened in the last day or so, is the fact that I've been talking to a county about what Wales are doing, and they are backing me. And it looks as if we're going to be setting something up in the county in England to do exactly the same as what they're doing in Wales. So we started off this podcast by not belittling Wales, but by saying that they're the smallest nation in the UK as far as golf is concerned. But they could also be the inspiration, because they are still a very, very big country in terms of the amount of golf clubs they are. And I think the counties can take a lot of note of what's just been said there from Theo and Andrew about what they can do in their particular counties about trying to promote the game, because they're doing a fantastic job in Wales. And it surprised me. I don't know whether it surprised you as well, Ian, because I took it as in, rugby is the sport in Wales, that's what they promote. But no, they're doing a great job over there.
Yeah, they are. And I think they're almost the underdog, Steve, in sort of the UK when it comes to sport and when it comes to golf as well, because they can push these things. And you're absolutely right. There's loads of junior tournaments that go on, but they've created this mini masters. If we could have a mini masters England, a mini masters Scotland, they've got the opportunity to lead, because one thing I like about Wales is we know what it's like. We're both English, right? I'm from the south of England. And there's a divide between north-south. Whether we like it or not, there's a divide between the north-south. If you're Welsh, you're Welsh. And you're proud to be Welsh. And you're all this and you're all that. And because of that, there's a unity that perhaps we don't quite have in England. And it's probably the same in Scotland. They have a certain unity. And I think it might be lacking a little bit in England. We perhaps don't quite have that unity. We break off into counties. We do our own things. Whereas Wales will do it all together, and they've created something that I think works really, really, really well. And they've got this opportunity to grow and almost lead it into the next level. I will just say as well, Leanne Brownwell is somebody I know very, very well. I followed her career closely. In fact, I did her first tournament on the Clutch Pro Tour, funny enough, at I think it was Sunningdale, actually, the par 3 course at Sunningdale. And I remember then saying, remember her, because she's a bloody good player. And of course, now she's turned pro, she's gone on. So I will take some of that credit. Completely not deserved. But I do know her family very well. I know Jason is watching actually as well. So Jason, if you're watching, hello. It's lovely to see you guys again. And of course, Leanne will catch up soon. And Leanne Brownwell from Wales Golf, remember that name.
Yeah, now we're going to wrap up, because we're going to talk about some of the competitions which are taking place in Wales. First of all, I think we've got a photo with the venues for the Mini Masters, just to let people know when these competitions are taking place. There you go. It's quite small on my screen in front of me here. So, but there are.
Well, I can tell you, Monday the 8th of August, Fairwood Park Golf Club. Tuesday the 11th of August. Oh my word! I don't know if anybody from Wales.
There's a reason why I left it to get this one. Yeah,
Landris and Pontyclun. If I've probably said that completely wrong, I'm really, really sorry. That's Thursday the 11th of August. Monday the 15th of August, Neffin Golf Club. Tuesday the 16th of August, St Mellard Golf Club. I hope I said that well. Friday the 19th, Monmouthshire Golf Club. I can say that one right. Wednesday the 24th of August, Carmarthen Golf Club. And the final is on the 25th of October at Macanese Peninsula Golf Club. There you go.
Well done. Yes.
That's my Welsh.
That's it. And McInnes Peninsula, I've actually played that. That's a very nice course
not
as well.
McInnes.
Yes.
McInnes. Apologies to Wales.
Yes. Now, also, we were to mention, so those are events aimed at the younger golfers. Just to give you an idea about some of the competitions which are taking place in Wales. Well, plenty of junior opens, which are all on the Progress Junior Golf Tour website. The Fowler Series, which we're going to be out, that takes place on August the 29th to the 31st. That's at Ruddling Golf Club. Same venue as it was last year. That's North Wales. So people look at geographically and they think South Wales. Obviously, you've got the major cities of Swansea and Cardiff in South Wales, but they also have some very good golf courses north as well, and including Ruddling as well. So that's one big event. British Junior Golf Tour, they've got 3 events in 3 days, August the 28th to the 30th. They play at Craddock, they play at Latrisam and Pontyclun, one that you just mentioned there with the Mini Masters Series, and they also play at Clyne, so 3 consecutive days there. Schools Golf, which has been on the podcast previously as well, it's very similar with them actually. They've got 3 consecutive days in Wales as well. They are playing 3 well worth playing golf courses. They're playing Southern Down, P&K, and then Royal Porthcawl, which on their website they've got on. It's the 66th best golf course in the world. So that's well worth playing in.
Ooh, that is, yeah. Wow.
And I have played it, and it is well worth playing, I'll tell you as well. And the US Kids as well, they've got a South Wales tour as well. They've already had a couple of events already so far this year. I think one of them we mentioned in the last podcast. They've got events June the 26th at Clyne, July the 17th at Verndu, September the 25th at Ryder, and then they've got a Tour Championship final at Llanfern. That's on October the 16th. So lots of events to take place, or for juniors to take part in Wales, and you know, I would urge anyone to go out there and play in some of these events. Get in touch with Andrew and Theo if you want to get involved with some of these Welsh golf events there. But there's plenty of other competitions as well. And I think, you know, if they've been an inspiration to me, and I hope that's been an inspiration to people out there as well watching. So well done.
Can I also just say, Steve, as well, I've got some breaking news for you too. And it's to do with Leanne Brownwell's tour that she plays on the Clutch Pro Tour. They have officially done a title sponsorship deal with Mizuno. So from now on, the Clutch Pro Tour that Leanne Brownwell from Wales, is of course Welsh, plays on will now be known as the Mizuno Next Gen Series from now. Officially for the next 3 years, the Clutch Pro Tour is now the Mizuno Next Gen Series to help. It is professional, so I appreciate it's not quite junior golf, but it is to help them grow. On a junior level, I have some announcements. I have one announcement to make as well this month. Well, actually, this month is still May, isn't it? But from tomorrow, it's June. In June, you can, of course, watch the English Under-18 Championships live from Widdlesborough with us at Live Sport Now. Head over to YouTube. There's a link in the body of this broadcast. Hit subscribe, and you can watch that. And you can also watch the Mizuno Next Gen Series, which Leanne Bramwell might be playing on. I think it's the 15th of June. We'll be there for that at Royal Norwich. So you might be able to catch Leanne Bramwell from Wales in action at Royal Norwich with us at Live Sport Now on the Mizuno Next Gen Series. That's
fantastic. All right. Progress Junior Golf Podcast, then we're going to have another one's coming up. We've got ones coming up, like we say, on disabled golf, junior golf. We're going to be doing one on racism in junior golf, which is going to be a fascinating one, talking to some people about the issues that they face and how junior golf can be, as Welsh golf has been with me, be an inspiration to golf clubs out there to try and, you know, do the right things and hopefully get more Asian and black golfers playing the game, which is what we all need, and that's where it starts basically with junior golf. So lots to look forward to on Progress Junior Golf. Really hope you've enjoyed this show on Welsh golf. Actually, it's been one of my favourites, to be honest, because this is one.
It's been a cracker, isn't it? It's been a really good one.
It surprised me more than probably most of the ones that we've had so far, because this is the one whereby I didn't expect too much, if I'm being honest, and the bar has been very, very high. So hey, I hope you enjoy the show. Have a good evening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Bye-bye.